Hi there, folks. Sherry Schreiber of GettingBetter.com with another Naked Truth video for you today. And this one has to do with core shame. What is core shame? Well, I write quite a lot about that in my brand new book that's just recently been published. Do You Love to Be Needed or Need to Be Loved? Goes into really in-depth explanation and revelation about core shame and how it gets implanted in us in infancy due to having been born to a mother that was incapable of consistently loving us, nurturing us, gleefully watching our development and growth. And we never learned to really trust that she was there to meet our needs. Very oftentimes, we were there to meet her needs, to fill up the hole in her soul. So this is part of core shame. What is the feeling of core shame in the body? It's usually sitting in the chest or the solar plexus or the stomach. These are usually the areas of the body where core shame sits and rests and exists for us, oftentimes lifelong. And the feeling is, the ideation of it is, I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. Now, we don't pop out of the womb feeling this way about ourselves, ever. This is implanted in us by how our mommies related to us as newborns. And whether the novelty of having a new baby wore off for her rather quickly, and she went back to talking to her girlfriends on the telephone half the day as it passed, and oh gosh, when we really just needed nurturing and comforting and warmth and holding by her and adoring looks from her eyes into ours, we weren't able to get it because talking on the telephone to her girlfriends or texting or going on the internet or watching TV was far more important to her than connecting in an intimate and profound way with us. So this, of course, implanted a feeling inside of us as, I'm not important, I'm not good enough, I'm not special to her. She doesn't adore me as much as I adore her. I formed this intimate bond with her in utero, and I came out of the womb loving her, being in love with her, but I'm not getting that kind of adoration reflected back to me. What's wrong with me that I'm missing out on these supplies? What's wrong with me? Never do we once think to ourselves, what's wrong with her? Never. So, okay, I've got cookies in the oven, so I'm wanting to wrap this up pretty quickly. Core shame. It's our inability to trust and believe in our intrinsic lovability and worth, that we're good enough and lovable. Drives people-pleasing behaviors, drives fixing, rescuing behaviors. We're always putting the needs and feelings of other people ahead of our own, which is a poor self-worth issue, by the way. It's not altruism, it's agenda, as I tweeted about today. It's the need for ego fuel. It's the need to feel okay about ourselves because somewhere along the line as infants, as children, we got the impression that taking care of everybody else's needs and feelings was far more important than taking care of our own or having our own responded to. And of course, this gets implanted in the first weeks of life, making room for our mother's diversions and distractions. Not crying, oh, we're such a good baby because we never cried. Well, God forbid what would have happened to us had we. Asserted our needs and made them known to her. Would we have survived? So all these rescuing, fixing behaviors that I write about in Do You Love to Be Needed or Need to Be Loved? Again, my brand new book that's just been published and out there and available to you. It has us taking care of everybody else, trying to discern their needs and feelings and wants and desires to the neglect of the self. And that's just plain old not healthy. How do we heal our core trauma that has left this core shame sitting in our bodies? This I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable shit. Well, you can't heal it until you're ready to descend into that shame feeling and just feel it in the body and deep breathe into it. I have video on how to heal your pain from the outside in with heavy breathing. Go listen to that. Learn how to heal yourself. Breathe into this shame. Let it be there. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm defective. Something's wrong with me. Breathe into that. Deep breathe into that. Rub where it's hurting, that shame, in your body. And you can lighten it this way. Episodically, you will lighten it. You will shrink it. Okay? Total and complete self-acceptance is the only way you're going to get rid of this shame inside your core. And what I mean by that is all the parts of you that you despise, maybe the physical parts. You feel parts of you are physically flawed and you hate those parts. And you presume other people see you as ugly too for those parts. Maybe these are emotions that you've had since you were little, but you were taught were wrong. Your hatred, your anger, your rage, your frustration, your disgust with other people, your jealousy, your envy. You were taught as a small person that these emotions were wrong emotions. You shouldn't have them. You should amputate them out of your personality structure and never let them arise again within you. And this is what, of course, creates core shame. Wow, if I have these feelings still inside of me, if they're asserting themselves now and then, these ugly, disgusting, dark emotions, that I'm a bad person, I'm just not lovable. When in reality, these are just natural, normal human parts of us. All of us, my dears. Humans are like chickens. You always hear me saying this in other videos on my website at gettingbetter.com. You always hear me talking about this. Humans are like chickens. We have light parts, we have dark parts. If we hate and despise and judge harshly our dark parts, our darker emotions, the parts of us we think are unacceptable, because that's how we were programmed as little children, to discard those parts of the self. That we're growing up with self-loathing. We're growing up hating ourselves. Well, I could love myself except for ... Which is absurd. You've got to like and respect and admire yourself regardless of all the parts that make you human. I'm narcissistic. I see that in myself on a regular basis. I'm arrogant. As far as I'm concerned, I'm the wisest person I've ever met. Maybe you think so too. That's your prerogative. I'm selfish at times, but I'm also generous. I'm very giving. I'm very kind. I'm a very loyal and kind and giving and supportive friend to the people I care about. I've saved a lot of lives in this lifetime just doing the healing work I've done in my wellness practice, which has nothing to do with psychotherapy, by the way. Not even close. I've saved a lot of lives. I've had a lot of people come to me suicidally depressed since the very beginning of my practice as a marriage and family therapy intern, uh, 25, 26 years ago. Suicidally depressed people. Well, I knew something about suicidal depression because I lived it at 20 years old. Okay. So I'm an essentially good person, but it doesn't mean I don't have dark parts. It doesn't mean I don't have dark aspects. And God help me if you cross me. I mean, bad things will happen to you. And I never lift a finger to bring about those events. But I have dark parts just like you do. We all do. It's part of being human. So if you can't accept the drumsticks along with the breast meat, there's something inherently missing in you, dear, and it's self-worth. How do we heal this core shame? Work on getting to total self-acceptance. Your dark parts aren't any darker than anybody else's. Anything you can imagine doing that's disgusting and evil to somebody else, if you're not acting on it, you're just imagining it. Welcome to the club. I'm reminded of a former lover I had, oh God, probably about 16 years ago. And he was 10 years older than I. I still occasionally will think of him, not in a sense of longing for him, but just in a sense of remembering him and the bad things he did and the bad ways he behaved in our relationship. And I take pleasure in the fact that he is 10 years older than I. So he's around 80 now. There's something about that that gives me pleasure, some kind of satisfaction. Because you know what? As far as I'm concerned, fuck him. So don't worry about the dark parts. Don't worry about your jealousy, your envy, your hatred, your sadness, your grief, your depression. Don't make yourself wrong for these emotions. They're natural, normal, human emotions. Stop judging them as wrong or bad. Yeah, I know you've been programmed that way by your parents. Probably a lot by your mother, who shut you out and neglected you if you displeased her in any way. But these are not bad parts of the self. They're just natural, normal human aspects. And we have dozens of them. We have dozens and dozens of dimensions to us as humans. Let's not amputate any of them out. Let's not despise any of them. And you'll be surprised with deep breathing, heavy breathing into this core shame, staying the fuck out of your head when you're in there. And self-soothing with your hand to your body and just rubbing where that shame is sitting and hurting you. You'll be surprised as you do this exercise frequently and you take the judgment off your darker aspects, how quickly that shame evaporates within you. Okay? All right. Bye for now.